Hi, everybody. Welcome. I am so excited to have Virginia Vince, owner of Bloomfields Flowers in Ottawa, Ontario, here with me today. Virginia is an entrepreneur. Actually, we just figured out she's been an entrepreneur for 22 years, and she has 2 actual flower shops that she owns with her husband in Ottawa. And she's also the mom of 3 boys, and has been juggling parenting and working for a long time. And she's on today so that we can talk a little bit about the guilt that moms experience of juggling a business or work life with kids. So Ginny, welcome.
Thank you. Really excited to be here.
And Virginia is also a very dear friend of mine. We've been roommates several times. We've traveled the world together and have enjoyed raising our kids side by side. We actually remembered in university taking a women's studies course together where we were fighting for women's rights and talking about the balancing act of women raising families while being professionals and having careers. And I said to her, I can't even believe it, but here we are doing it now. So, and it's not that easy. It's actually not that easy. So Ginny, what would you say?
It's a challenge, there's no doubt.
Mm-hmm. And so with the busyness of running your business and raising 3 boys, how do you manage some of the guilt?
It's hard, it really is. And I think that challenge for myself, and I'm sure many women, is that I recognize that it's happening, but at the end of the day, you still can't help but feeling that. Work is incredibly busy, and recently with COVID, we've had to make a lot of adjustments and shuffling schedules and just coming up with new routines. And something in life always kind of has to give, and it ebbs and flows. So there are times where my work life is way heavier, which means that unfortunately I don't get to spend as much time or be as available for the kids, and guilt results. But what I'm trying to do is come up with a schedule and recognize that a lot of flexibility is needed with that schedule, and communication as well, just a lot of communication with the boys, and recognize that especially during challenging times like now, you have to be kind to yourself and recognize that you can only do what you can do, and go from there.
Oh my God, and you can only do so much and be gentle, right? Like there's certain times that I've noticed I've had to let go of expectations.
Exactly. Or redefining what a day looks like, and with the kids' schedules, recognizing that right now there are a lot of adjustments for them as well, and a routine may derail very quickly, and that's okay. Or a day that was set out to look a certain way all of a sudden doesn't look that way at all because something unexpected's come up with work, and that's okay too. So it's about being able to adapt.
And it's interesting, as an entrepreneur, you've probably been, pretty creative and adaptive for a long time, but maybe some people are being thrown into this and they don't have that experience of, I don't know what you would call it, letting go or flowing with the new circumstances.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. And you're right, Carol, and we have the luxury of having had structures in place, but COVID certainly, I think it threw a curveball in a lot of people's lives, and my life as well. And it's been an adjustment it's been an adjustment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And what I love is actually Virginia's in her flower shop right now. And that just, that's why you can hear a little bit of background noise, because they're actually working around the clock to get flowers out to people. And I think this guilt thing that we experience as moms is so universal. Like we've all felt it. Yes. And it's not that helpful. like it's not that helpful to feel guilty. So I hear you saying you kind of have to shift into lowering your expectations, letting things flow, even just being a bit more self-forgiving.
Yes, absolutely. It's really important to recognize that under any circumstance, we you're doing the best you can, and especially now adapting to a new situation, and be kind to yourself and recognize that there's a huge learning curve right now, and we're trying to figure out new ways of running a business. Our business shifted from being an walk-in flower shops where customers would come and visit us here to completely switching over to online. So that's been a huge adjustment. And again, that takes time, which means that time is taken away from other things and there's guilt, but it's not productive. It, at the end of the day, it's good to just, acknowledge it, recognize, yes, I'm feeling this way, but where's the solution? And just letting that part go and just coming up with solutions to get you through it.
And so one of the solutions I heard you say is to communicate clearly with your kids.
Absolutely.
So what does that look like? Like, what would you say to them?
Well, I think communication on so many levels. So communication, one, to understand how they feel, and recognizing that kids like us are different as well. So my three sons' personalities are very different from one another, and each one of them deals with stress very differently and communicates how they feel about that stress very differently. So just being really open with your kids about stress and the change that is taking place right now, changes and disruptions to their environment, changes and disruptions to our work situation and environment, and how that impacts them individually, us with our work, and then together as a family. I think that's really, really important.
So yeah, I noticed myself as well having to say to my kids, like, well, I'm actually going to be busy from this time until this time. And then actually what I don't love is when I go over that and then I go a little longer and I go a little longer. And then I come out like, okay, everybody, I'm off the phone. I'm ready. And but they're used to that in the sense of, I'm not saying don't be realistic, it's better to be realistic, but at least communicate with them to say, these are the expectations for the day, is that I'm going to be busy from here until here, and if it goes over, realize it's because there's something really important going on at work today, and it doesn't mean I'm not going to have time with you later on.
That's right. That's right. And just setting that expectation is so important, and communicating that is so important. And then kids know. And I think it also teaches kids about uh, the just the need to be flexible as well. Because as you said, Carolyn, you can have days where you've communicated what the day is going to look like, and then it doesn't end up looking that way at all. So teaching kids that you can reconnect, but plans may have to change, and the ability to be flexible during that time as well. So setting the schedule, setting some sort of schedule and expectations, but then also communicating through it when it has to change.
Because really there's
trying not to feel too about it, because curveballs happen and unexpected things, variables are thrown in, and you have to be able to adapt to that. And it's important, I think, for children to also recognize that, to know that when you're working, it's unexpected things will come up during the work day, and you're doing the best that you can.
And then there's sometimes where you just have to like clear your schedule and be like, okay, things are falling apart here at home, and I'm going to have to come up with a plan like a day or 2 days from now or 2 days from now to just do something completely different. Like I'll stay home for the morning, or I'll, reorganize things because everybody's needing something different here. And I can't quite, like, that's another way we can be flexible is what I'm trying to say.
Completely.
Okay.
Yes, recognizing that.
And then what does it help our kids with? You're saying it helps them to be flexible. It helps them to learn how to communicate their needs, right? And their feelings. But being a working mom who's juggling a lot, um, what else have you noticed that your kids kind of benefit from? Like, how do they benefit from that?
I think it really gives kids a lot of good life skills, and just recognizing that, like life, running your own business is multifaceted, and there are a lot of demands placed on you, and sometimes there's a schedule and everything's set and it's great, and other times unexpected things come up and it's stressful, and but it's about finding that balance and juggling. So I think it teaches kids how to, so many things, how to juggle responsibilities, how to be respectful and recognize that people have different schedules and may have different demands on their lives like they do on their own. I think it gives kids a sense of grit, sense of responsibility, because they need to, they're sort of expected to be able to operate on their own as well and follow instructions and
Yeah,
do that. So it's, I think the list of strengths that result are actually quite, it's a long list, especially if you can support them through it, and as you said, be flexible also, and recognize that, you know, there are times when you shift back and forth, and just keep that going.
I love that. It's funny, I had a situation where I had to run out and do some mailings at night for work. And one of my kids was helping make dinner. And I got a text with a picture of the roasted vegetables that said, "Are these done?" It's like, you're going to have to put a fork in them to see if they're done, because I can't tell from the photo. And the post office clerk and I were laughing our heads off, because she said, "Oh, I got a message from my child that said, 'Mom, these potatoes are really hard to mash.'" And I said to them, "Did you cook them?"
And were the potatoes cooked, out of curiosity? No.
So it just shows me, like you're saying, there's a lot of self-sufficiency that comes, and it's a bit of like a bumpy road sometimes to figure out what can they do and how can they take responsibility for themselves. And
Taking responsibility and and as a result, there's confidence. I think as a parent, if you go into every situation like that tenderly and recognize it's a learning experience and something new for them, and mistakes will happen, and that's okay, but just really applauding the kids for taking a new challenge on and being willing to just be open to learn new
yeah,
things. I think that's another real positive that comes from it.
and I like how you kind of bring them into it, like the way you said you let them know what's happening for the day, but you're also like, that means that they feel like they're a part of something as well,
They
right?
do. They
And
definitely.
especially for you, where it's both you and your partner, are running the same business, then the kids kind of become, I'm sure, involved in some ways.
They do become involved. Two of our boys prior to COVID uh, they worked at the store after school 2 days a week with a couple of their friends. So they were, in fact, very physically involved. But we keep our boys pretty informed on everything that's going on for the most part. Just the operations and the business and the challenges that and logistics that we've had to shift and change, just so they have an understanding of what running this business entails, and what's happening in our day-to-day lives. We want them to be part of that
Yes.
aspect of our lives as much as, you know, we're interested in obviously what their school academics, how they're feeling about connecting with friends and this and that and everything that's impacting their lives, and then that zone that overlaps where we all come together as a family too. So
Sounds lovely.
we
I
just
think it's really cool. Do the boys want to run their own businesses when they get older, or are they like my children that are like not so sure about the entrepreneurial path?
I think the verdict's still out. They, when we've talked to them about it, they've said things like, seems like a lot of work. So at least they're getting that part right.
Yeah,
But
exactly. There's no sugarcoating it.
sugarcoating it. But I think they also recognize that we get a lot of satisfaction out of it. And so we'll see. We'll see what they decide to do.
I love that. And so this coming back to just the feeling as a mom of, and I think it's different sometimes for fathers than it is for moms, that we have maybe a little bit more pressure to, I don't know, make it all right, you know?
I think
Um,
we
s-
do.
yeah. So coming back to that feeling of, oh, I can't do it all, or what would you say to a mom who's struggling right now to manage this flexibility and this feeling of I'm working constantly and my kids are asking for me? And is there anything else you'd say to help them?
I think for myself personally, the most liberating moment in my overlap years of working and parenthood was when I came to realize that I can't do it all. I can't do it all. And I don't think any person can do it all. It's impossible to give 100% to absolutely everything at any given time. Um, but I can do things, really well and shift and then give certain areas when my boys need more attention and love and, shift to that and focus there. And the business needs me a little bit more, shift and do that. And it's just about being kind to yourself and recognizing that and just that we're each doing the best that we can do. And if you're working hard and genuinely giving everything your all, that's all that you can do, and be okay with that and recognize that sometimes something's going to give. So during the coronavirus, the cleanliness of my house may not be what it was at one point, or meals may not look exactly as they did prior to all of this happening, or things at the shop may not be exactly the same, but that's okay because we're adapting and we're getting through and it's still running and we're still maintaining our spirits. And
Yeah,
and it's also really important to have a break and not do anything at all. So I would say be kind to yourself and just recognize that you're doing the best that you can do, and no human being can do it all.
I love that. So all about letting go.
It's about letting go.
Yeah. And then have some boundaries in place for yourself or for your kids, right? Like whether that's like my kids right now, you can't come in because I'm on a video call, or whether the boundary is like I have to go to bed because I'm so tired, that I have to rest. So I love what you're saying about looking after yourself in the end.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So thank you, Virginia, for being the most open and flexible and creative person I know, and for bringing us into your flower shop this morning.
Welcome. My pleasure.
And thank you for your wisdom.
Likewise, Carolyn. Thank you.
Namaste.
Okay.